So very quickly we have moved to the day 19. No, we didn't realize that how fast the time flies. In the day 19 video, we're going to talk about the pattern printing. So all the concept of conditionals, loop that we have learned so far, that will come into the action when we go and solve these handy problems. Just to say that these are the patterns, but the concept which you will use and learn here will come a long way in making you a master of data structures and algorithm. At the same time, when you go and write code for the industry, it will be really helpful. So let's get started and solve these pattern printing questions in this session. So now, since we have understood about the loops and all the details around it, it's time now to put that into the practice. So what we're going to do now is that we'll take few of the patterns and see that how using the loops you can go and solve it. If you're able to solve this pattern yourself, it means that you have a good hold on the loop. So this could be a good practice ground for us to master the nested loops and the loops concept. Let's get started and start with the very first pattern which you see on the screen right now. The very first pattern that I have is of solid square, which you see here, right? So I want to go and write a program which prints stars like this in this pattern. Fair enough? Now if you see here, at one go, as a programming limitation, what will happen? You can only go and print one thing at a time, right? So let's say that very first thing that I'll go and print is, and after printing this, what I'm saying is that I want to go in the save line and print star 5 times. And only when it is done, then I can go to the next line and then again repeat the same thing. So what I see here is that I'm making two actions. One, when I'm at a specific position, I'm going left to the right. And after I'm done with that, then I'm going from top to bottom. Top to bottom. So I'm doing two actions here. I'm going from left to the right and I'm going from top to bottom. Now since I have to do two actions, now for moving from left to the right, I can simply go and write something like a loop, right? I can go and say that for int j equals to 0, j is less than, and what it is, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, less than 5, j plus plus, and I can just go and print these stars. So I can go and say that system dot out dot print, and not put ln. When you don't put ln, it will not go to the new line. So you just go and say system dot out dot print, and I go and print star with some space here. Once I do this, what it will do, it will simply go and result into, this will result into the 5 star getting printed. But I want to repeat this again and again. And how many times? I want to repeat it 5 times. So what I will have to do, I will have to go and wrap it inside the another for loop. So I'll go and say that for int I equals to 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus. So for the 5 times, I have to go and do the same thing. So this is the outer loop, which is deciding that how many times the inner activities will happen, and this inner activities. So considering this logic, let's try to write the code. If I go and open my Eclipse, in the Eclipse, I've already created the folder called as patterns. Let me go and define this as a new class called as a square pattern. And inside this, let me go and define a public static void main, public static void main string args. And what I need to do, I need to go and print square pattern. So for that, let me go and define a function called as print square, public static void, and I go and say that print square. And what size? Let me go and define the size as the parameter in size. Now what I need to do, each time, right, I have to first of all go and say that for int j equals to 0, j is less than size j plus plus, and for that what I need to do, I need to do sys out, but I don't want to go to the next line, so I want just want to say that star and then space. Fair enough. Now this whole thing has to be inside this class itself, so that's why it was give me the error. At this point of time, if I go and try to print, right, if I go and call this function called as print square, and I go and pass 5 and hit enter to this, right, and try to run this, what will happen? It will go and print just once, right? If you see here, when I go and run this, it is only printing one line of the square, but I want to repeat this for the 5 times. I want this whole thing should be repeated 5 times. What will I do? I'll wrap it inside another for loop, simple, right? So what I go and do here, I go and say that wrap this code inside the outer for loop. So I go and say that for int I equals to 0, I is less than size, I plus plus, and put this whole thing inside this for loop. So I go and put this inside this. And now when I go and do this, this whole 5 should be repeated 5 times. So if I go and save this now and run it, it is all coming on the same line. Now I'm able to repeat this 5, but again all this 5 is all coming on the same line. All of them are coming on the same line. How can I fix that? I can fix that if after each execution of this inner loop, I go and say that you go to the next line. How can I do it? I can go and put an empty system out println. So I can do here, I can come here and I can say sys out, and I'll just put an empty space. Now if I go and run this, the same code, run as, I'm able to print the perfect square. I hope you are able to understand this. Please write the code, practice yourself, because this will help you master that how the loops could be used. Now let's talk about the another problem, which is the printing the triangle here as if. So every time you get a pattern, you should try to understand that how do we go and solve it. So first of all, let's try to see that if I go and try to mark the coordinates, right? So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will be again 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fair enough. Now if you see here on my first, when it is first, I'm having 1 star. When I'm second, I'm having 2 stars. When I'm going for the third time, I'm printing 3 stars, right? So far I know that if I have to go and print this pattern, I'll have to have an outer for loop, and then I will have to have an inner for loop. Now this outer for loop will run for how many times? It will run for 5 times, which is 0 to 4. The inner for loop should run how many times? So when it is first time, the for loop will run for 1 time. When it is second time, the for loop will run 1 time. For loop should run for I times, right? So when the first time the for loop is running, the inner for loop will run for 1 times. When the second time the outer for loop is running, the inner for loop should run for 2 times. When the third time the outer for loop running, the inner loop will run for 3 times. When the fourth time the outer for loop is running, the inner for loop should run for 4th time. When the 5th time the outer for loop is running, the inner for loop should run for 5th time. Fair enough. So using this logic, let's try to solve this pattern. So let me go to my Eclipse. And here, let me go and define another function called as public static void print triangle int size. Let's say that we have given the size of that. See, in this pattern, how many times I have to go depending on the size of this, right? So for that, what we do is that I go to my Eclipse. And here first of all I go in for int I equals to 0, I is less than size I plus plus. So when I go ahead and run this basically will return that I'll go first this, then I'll go this, then I'll go this, I'll go this, I'll go this, like this in direction I'll go. Now whenever I'm here, what happens will be decided by the inner loop, right? So here in the inner loop I go and write for int j equals to 0, j is less than equals to I, and then j plus plus. And then what I go and do, I go and say this is out, and then I go and print space, and after the inner loop is done, I should also go to the next line. So if I go in run this now, instead of calling the print square, if I go and call this line, let me go and comment this line and call print triangle. And I go and pass 5. Here there's a typo. If I go and run this, then again I see that if you see here, I have just printed this lines. So I have printed this, then I have printed 2, then I have printed. Why it is happening? Because I have used ln here. It went to the next line all the time. So what I need to do is, I will have to go and remove this ln part and save this, run as, and I'm able to create this pattern triangle. Fair enough. I'm able to do this pattern triangle. Let's move to the next problem. I have to go and define this problem called as star plus. How do we do it now? Now again, let's try to first of all see the coordinates. So we see here, this should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this case, we are printing star when either, let's say that this is your I coordinates which is going on, and this is j coordinate which is going on. So this is getting printed, see, only when it is 2 it is all 2, when it is I it is all 2. So when either I is equals to 2 or j is equals to 2, we are printing star. Else we are just printing the space. So what we can do here, I can just go and write the loop for outer for loop and then inner for loop, and inside this, if I is equals to 2 or j is equals to 2, in that case you go and print star. Else you just do the empty space printing. Does it make sense? Let's try to go and write the code for this and understand if it works. So what we do now is, I go to my Eclipse, and here let me go and define another method called as print star. Public static void print star and the size. Now in this case, I go and write the two loops. For I go and say the for and I equals to 0, I is less than size I plus plus, and same way I should write for the j also, for and j equals to 0, j is less than size j plus plus. And then we know that when do we have to print the star? We have to do the star if I is equals to 2 or j is equals to 2. In that case, I should go and print star space. Else I should simply go and put the space. Now it has to go on the same line, so I will go and say that print, and after this inner for loop I should go and say this is out. Perfect. Let's go and run this. So again, instead of print triangle, let's go to the print star. If I go and run this, you see here my star is getting printed. My star is getting printed here. So you see here my star is getting printed. Perfect. Cool. So we have done this problem also. Let's move on to the next problem on the screen. So if I go back and see this problem, what I have to do here, similar to the star problem, this is called as a Floyd's triangle problem. So we have seen a similar problem here where we plotted a diagram like this, 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 this. Fair? I have to do the same here, but instead of star, I'm using a number. So it should be simple. In order to print the number, I think we can make use of some counter, and this counter we can keep on incrementing. Right? So instead of using the star, we'll make use of the counter and do the incrementing. Again, same thing, we'll have to write the outer for loop, where I will start from 0 and will run till 3 because 4 rows. And for j value should start from 0 and should go for till the value is I. And what we need to print? We need to print that counter. Right? Instead of printing the star, we have to go and print the counter. This is the logic that we need to go and apply. Same, if you have been able to solve this star wala problem, you should be able to solve this problem as well. So let me go to my Eclipse and what is this? Floy triangles. So here in this case, let me go and define a method called as public static void, and I want to say that Floyd triangle, and I want to say the end size. Now in this, I have to go and write the two loops. So what we do is, in the beginning itself, I'm going to find the count, and count equals to 0. Fair enough. And then I'm going to say the for, and I equals to 0, I is less than size, I plus plus, and then I have for, and j is equals to 0, j is less than equals to I, j plus plus. And then what I do? I'll have to go and print the count. So what I go and do is that I go and say that sys out, and then I go and say that count plus plus, and just to give some data formatting, I put a space here, and this be on the same line. Post this, I go and say that sys out, and let's try to call this function. So again, I'm going to comment this out and print this function called as Floyd triangle. And the size is 4. Let's try to run this. And I see that my Floyd triangle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, how I wanted, I am able to create it. How I wanted my Floyd triangle to look like, I'm able to go and create it. So this is the example of my Floyd's triangle. Now let's try to talk about another interesting problem, which is the number triangle flipped. If you see here, similar to the previous problem but slightly different. Here the first one has 1, 2, the second row has 1, 2, the third row has 1, 2, 3, the fourth row has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it is in this format. Fair enough. Let's try to analyze is that what all things would be here, right? So let me go and first of all erase this, and let me put some coordinates here. So I can say that this is the coordinate 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is my I, and this should be my j. Now I have a number. So here if I go and see that for this number, I plus j value is equals to I plus j value is equals to 3. Now here if I go and see, and here I see, here the I plus j value is 1 plus 2 is equals to 3, and here the value is 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3 is equals to 4. If I go and see here, here the value is 2 plus 1 is equals to 3, here it is 2 plus 2 is equals to 4, and here it is 2 plus 3 equals to 5. And here I go and say 3 plus 0 is equals to 3, 3 plus 1 is equals to 4, 3 plus 1 equals to 2 equals to 5, and 3 plus 3 equals to 6. So at all the places when I'm printing, so one pattern that I can see from here is that all the places where value of I plus j is greater than equals to whatever is the size, right? Whatever is the value of the value is greater than equals to the size minus 1, right? If size is 4, then the index is, if I plus j value is greater than equals to size minus 1, then I'm printing the number, else I'm printing the space. That's one observation that I have. And also for each I, and also for the second observation is that for each I we start the counter from 1. For each I we start the counter from the 1. So using these two logic, and normally every question you have to just think about this logic itself, that is there any pattern. If it is a pattern printing, the pattern is in the name itself, so there is bound to be a pattern, and this is what, my dear friends, you have to go and find in a problem. So you have to, once you have found the pattern, this is the pattern, this is the pattern, it gets easy to solve the problem. So now let's directly jump to the Eclipse and let's try to apply the logic there. So I go and open my Eclipse here, and the Eclipse, let me go and define, so this is flipped triangle flipped. So let me go and define a method called as public static void, and it was a flipped triangle and size. Fair enough. And inside it again I'll have to have the two loops. So I go and say that for int I equals to 0, I is less than array, the size I plus plus. I go and say that for int j equals to 0, j is less than size j plus plus. And then when do I print? I print when I go and say that if I plus j is greater than equals to size minus 1. If I plus j value is greater than equals to size minus 1, in that case I should go and print, right? So I go and say that sys out dot print, and what should I do? I should go and print star here, done. And once my outer for loop, else I should go and no, I don't have to print star, I have to print the counter, right? So I go and initialize the counter here as int count equals to 0, and here what I should do is I should do plus count plus this extra space. I think this will work out. Else I should go and provide that extra space. And once I'm done with it, I should go to my next line, sys out like this. So my flip triangle code is done. Let me copy this and paste it on the top. Let me comment the previous question, and let me go and pass the size of 4 itself. So I go and run this. Let's see how it goes. And you can see I'm able to print this flip triangle. I'm able to print this flip triangle right? You can see the code on the top and the output in the bottom, right? If you can see here, this is outer for loop, this is the inner for loop. I'm printing only when I plus j is value greater than or equal to size minus 1, and then I'm incrementing the counter before inner loop. I'm initializing the counter every time the inner loop is being executed, and then for the first time it will go and print just 1, second time it will print 1 and 2, third time it will 1 2 3, fourth time it will print 1 2 3 4. Very good. I hope you would have liked this question. Let's move to the next question and understand these things in a little more detail. Let's move on. So this is the last question that we're going to do today in this exercise, and this is around printing the pyramid. So I have this pyramid. Let's again start doing some calculations, right? So if I start doing this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, and then vertically also 0, 1, 2, 3. So if you see here, j value is starting from 0 till 6, and I value is varying from 0 till 3. So this is my, this is my outer for loop. Outer for loop. This will be managed by the outer for loop, and this will be managed by the inner for loop. This we have already understood. Fair enough. Once we have understood this, now let's try to talk about the next thing. At each, the number of stars printing at each level is here 1, then 3, then 5, and then 7. And if I try to find the pattern, the number of stars printed at each level, which is under the inner for loop, is 2 times I plus 1. Correct? So when the value of I is equals to 0, that it is 1. Value of I is equals to 1, that value is 3. Right? So number of stars printed in each level is so under each level, which is my inner loop, right? Which is my inner loop. First, I have to print some empty spaces. First, print empty spaces. And how do I print the empty spaces? So on the first, the number of empty spaces will be equals to, it should be equals to the number of rows. So for example, in this case, it should be equals to whatever the size is, size minus 1 minus I. For example, the size is 4. So the empty spaces is 1, 2, 3. In this case, size will be equals to 4 minus 1, and I value is equals to 1, so value is equals to 2. So this is 1, 2. Third case, 4 minus 1 minus 2 is equals to 1. And the fourth, I don't do it, right? So first of all, I have to go and print the empty spaces, which is equal to size minus I minus 1, that's 1. And the second activity that I need to do is that I need to go and print stars. How many times? 2 into I plus 1 times. These are the two things that I need to go and do the inner for loop, right? So if I go and summarize, I will have an outer for loop, where I runs from 0 till size, and inside the outer for loop I have inner for loop, and this inner for loop has to do two things. First, print empty spaces, and this has to be done how many times? This we have seen, this has to be done size minus 1 minus I times, and then print start, and this has to be done 2 into I plus 1 times. This is the whole logic. Let's try to go and write the code and get done. So if I go and open my Eclipse, public static void print pyramid. Okay. And in this, what we need to do, first of all, I have to write the two loops for sure. So I'm going to write for int I equals to 0, I is less than size I plus plus. Now when I'm inside the for loop, I'll have to first go and print all the empty spaces. So I can go and say that for int j equals to 0, j is less than size minus 1 minus I j plus plus, and then I go into the sys out space. Once I've done, then I have to go and print star. How many times I'll have to do? Again, I go into the for int k equals to 0, and k value should be less than 2 into, and I will say the I plus 1 k plus plus sys out, and then I go and say that star. Now there should be no println, there should be only print, there should be only print, and then outside this for loop, when both of them are done, then I go and say that sys out. Fair enough. Now if I go and run this print pyramid, and I go and pass here, for example, 4, let's try to see what happens. I go and run this Java application, and I see that my pyramid got formed. I go and see that my pyramid got formed. I would like you people to go and solve all these pattern problems yourself. When you are able to do it, please make sure that you are sharing with it. So just like other days, we have done and dusted day 19 as well. We have solved multiple problems. We have understood that how the nested loops, conditionals come handy to go and solve the complicated problems. Let me know how your journey has been. Did you enjoy solving these problems? Please make sure that every code that we write here, you do it yourself. Tag me over LinkedIn. Let me know your progress and maintain that energy. Only 11 days are left before we complete our 30 days of learning Java challenge.